then they're like, okay, yeah, but then they'll start, oh yeah, I really just want to join the Army Marines. They say, I don't
You'll
know.
go work with them, dude. Everybody wants to join the Army and the Marines until you work with the Army and the Marines and you see how they're living their life when they have to sign out a carabiner and then sign it back in, which is a
Yeah,
real story. Like, hey, dog, okay, you can still work with them. And then
yeah,
when you get home, you could be like, oh, man, am I glad to be back home.
yeah. Well, I know. So I mean, how we talk to people is how the Marines and the Army, get people to join. Like people that want to challenge, people that
Yep.
want to more, and then the Air Force market's like, hey, come to us. We're the easiest. So we oftentimes lose our target audience. And then you have recruiters that they're not special warfare folks. They're great at their jobs. They're great at what they do. They're vastly different personalities, but they're people who come from all walks of life in the Air Force, and a lot of them have never really done anything physical. Like they're not really into sports, and that's where we get our crowd. And so you have these recruiters that are essentially frontline recruiters that are now tasked to recruit for special warfare. Um, and they just don't really have it's not really in their personality or the things they like to do to go out to events to recruit for special warfare. Another thing is, this is all excuse mode right now. I don't like it,
Right.
but I will state this. So, in like one single area, there'll be 7 or 8 Army and Marine recruiters for one Air Force recruiter. So that's the challenges of recruiting. It's my job to get out there and do public outreach, go to these big events. Some of the events I'm doing coming up, like the California State High School Wrestling Tournament, I'll be out there. Jiu-jitsu, MMA, like some of the stuff I already mentioned. But like all the events that I try to target are the athletic crowd. Like big athletic events are, kind of like where I spend the bulk of my time, just because I see that being the most useful.
Why do you think athletes specifically do so well in our pipelines? Because I agree, having a baseline athleticism, whatever that is, seems to work out. It correlates to better passing numbers. So why do you think they're so successful?
So it's the 8 traits that we're looking for. Physical fitness is a baseline to all of these jobs. If you do not have physical fitness, you will not succeed in these pipelines. That is a baseline. And that's for, anything you do in life. You got to have a good physical base. And then it branches off into the other characteristics like integrity. Like, do you do the right thing when no one's watching? Yeah, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. before work and get this workout in. No, is anyone going to reward me? No. Does anyone know? No. Um, Athletes who are, putting in work after school, do they have to do that? No. During, if people up north have a snow day and the coach says, hey, we can't make you guys come to practice, but athletes are still out there getting 4 or 5 mile runs in on their own. That's someone who's doing the right thing. They're driven. People people don't want to lose. It's gonna cause them to work harder, get better. Um, Problem solving, teamwork, all of these skills that we look for in special warfare airmen, you learn from a young age playing sports. And I'm not saying you have to be an athlete. There's anomalies in the pipelines of people who have no athletic background who are like, hey, I just want to do something awesome. I saw this. I've been training for 4 6 months, a year. Like I want to do this special warfare thing. I've seen people who aren't in really good shape come out, do like one pull up on an IFT. I'm like, man, this person ain't gonna cut it. And then I see them a month later and they're passing the test for SEER. So I'm like, dang, okay, like it. Um, there's a lot of anomalies, but yeah, all those attributes that athletes have, we look for in special warfare.
Well, it's kind of everything, right? Like it's the flexibility, that drive, that athleticism. I want to talk about like you talk about people with like months and years of working out under their belts, right? Because you'll see folks that will be like, I want to work out. I just started, and I'm gonna pass the IFT, which I don't think they even understand like how to put it into words. Like, but like because they have no background. But it's like, oh, you're gonna peak, and then you're gonna ship. Like that's a recipe for disaster. Like you can't peak and ship. Like this needs to be your baseline for like a long time. And I think explaining it to the folks and getting through all the recruiting administrivia stuff that comes along with that is difficult sometimes to explain to folks. And I think that's one of the reasons, like when we started the podcast, we're like, oh, like we're going to talk to like 17, 18-year-olds. And now we're like,
right.
dude, we need to be talking to like 14, 15-year-olds and being
Right.
like, you got to put in the work for a long time to establish that baseline to be successful.
And I'll be the first person to say that I was wrong. What do we always tell, like, 14 or 15-year-olds that have DM'd us? What do we always tell them?
Like, oh, have fun.
Dude, just
enjoy
chill
your
out.
childhood.
Enjoy your dude, enjoy high school, whatever. Now I'm like, I don't know, man. If you're serious about it, you really do have to have a physiological base. It's going to be about a year. That pre-accession plan, that's based on about a year. The depth, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but for the depth program, about a year from when you dep in until you get right, like till you're like good and happy and ready to ship. Like that's all you have. And Trent, you're dead on. If you're peaking, if you're just your Super Bowls passing that IFT to go out the door and ship, that ain't going to work out well, homie. You don't have that wiggle room. That needs to be a year long of overload recovery until you're knocking that IFT out. And really, it's got to be about the 8-month mark. You better be just killing that. That IFT better be a thing of the past. You better be thinking about now, like foot conditioning, staying on your feet, getting a little bit of time of weight, experimenting with some of these other things that aren't nearly as important, but they're gonna come up pretty quickly if you've done what you're supposed to. So some of those WaterCon events, that's when you start like spicing that up and adding those into your training and making sure that you're good there. So it takes a little bit, and I think I've evolved on it where now 14 and 15-year-olds hit me up and I'm like, I don't know, man. Are you playing sports? Are you spending you got some hobbies? Are you out there like doing something physical? Are you grappling, or are you doing something that sort of like feeds you into the area that we need you to be when we're ready to start having this conversation? Because if not, you're going to wait until you're 20. You're 18, you're going to hit that first year of training, and that's just you maturing. And then you're going to get into that year of no kidding. Now you're ready to go to the big time. So it's crazy how that's evolved for me. Mark, you're the subject matter expert, so I'll leave it to you.
Well, I mean, I tell people the same thing. Like I go to a lot of high schools. I get a lot of people who are interested, at a younger age, 14, 15, 13, if they're, no, not 13, that'd be middle school. But yeah, like freshmen and up. I tell them the same thing. Like play a sport. Like a lot, at 14 years old, you don't have knowledge of, like building programs and nutrition, all that jazz. Like I'll shoot them the special warfare preparation training manual that was sent out by the training wing. Like I have that document. I shoot it to all my recruits. But also, if there's interested athletes in high school, I will get their contact information. I'll shoot them everything that I send my recruits to get them ready. To include, like I have a personal workout plan that's a 4-month workout plan. And I tell them like, hey, if this is too intense for you, just like scale some of the stuff. Start off slow. Don't like absolutely kill yourself every single day, because there is such thing as overtraining. But you do want to train every day. You do want to be consistent and give yourself one day of rest. But also we have Coach Galvan. Shout out Eric Galvan, my man, combat controller. Whoop, whoop. Ever known. Awesome dad, awesome person. But so he's our T3I guy here in NorCal, but he has a plan, especially for the IFT events like push-ups, sit-ups, pull-up progression, running progression, swimming progression. So we give all the recruits that information. We give them standards and expectations of our program, who we are, the different special warfare recruiters in the area, what is the development, what's an IFT, what's expected of them. So yeah, all the recruits have a gauge of like who we are, what we do, what's expected before they even come into the program from the documents that we give them. But for the people that are preparing and spinning up at a young age, we do have like workout programs. But more importantly, I just tell them like, hey, you need to play sports. You need to be on a team. So that's kind of the advice I give them at a young age.